Hi there and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Richard, and in this video we're going to fly the ILS over at the Spartanburg downtown airport. I'm sitting at the Greenville Spartanburg International Airport, and we're going to taxi out, take off, and show you how you get there. And I'll do that basically en route. So the first thing I like to do is get ready to taxi out, take the brakes off, add some power, and we'll taxi on out to the runway. Okay, while I'm taxiing out here, I'm going to explain a little bit about what we're doing. The Spartanburg Airport is only about 12 miles away. But we're going to have to go around about a little bit to line up with the ILS. So we're going to take off runway heading, go out about 28 miles from the Spartanburg VOR, and we're going to also watch for, I have a GPS setting to fly direct to the Spartanburg downtown airport. And what that's going to do is show me when I will be lined. I'll be further out than able to pick up the Spartanburg ILS. So what I'm going to do is use the GPS to know when approximately I'm going to be aligned, and then when I get within about 20 miles of the ILS, I'll be able to see the localizer. If you understand correctly, most localizers and ILSs have a DME associated with them, and we'll be able to see that DME long before we get there. So here we go. We're going to just pour the coals to it and take off. Probably better off if I look in here to take off. Yeah. Okay. So, passing about 70 knots, going to about 80 knots. Pull the nose up just a little bit, 90 knots. Pull it up into the air. Positive rate of climb on the vertical speed indicator. Gear is up. Going to hold between 5 and 8 and 10 degrees nose high. Fly straight ahead, and we'll turn on the autopilot and turn on the heading control and vertical speed hold. And vertical speed's 2200. I'm going to roll that back down to about 2000. As we're climbing here, I'm going to pull the power back to about 85%. Okay, there's about 85%. And we're actually going to go to 4,000 here. I forgot to set that to 4,000. Okay, so 4,000 will be our level off, and we'll get there fairly quickly. Validating that the vertical speed is at 2,000 and the ATLS is armed, meaning that we'll automatically level. So at about 2,000 feet per minute and that's about 86.7 RPM on the TAC N1 over there. We're going to keep between 150 and 170. As we level off, the airspeed will increase. And as we level off, I'm going to pull the power back to about 65 and hold between somewhere around 55 knots. Okay, so let's, we've got a nice level off here. We're going to runway heading here. Let me explain what you're going to see here. So right here you can see we're 16 miles out and on a bearing of 077. The ILS is, let me show you here. Okay, so what we're doing here is here's Greenville, there's my arrow. We're just flying straight ahead down here. And when we line up with the localizer on 05, we'll turn. And we'll know we're lined up on the localizer when we see, let me, we can get rid of this map. So you can see here the localizer 1091 has an inbound course of 047, and anywhere above 2500 is fine. We're going to intercept at 4000, and that'll mean the glide slope will get to us quicker. So that's okay. Here's a checklist. You might take a screenshot of this so you can remember it. I tend to memorize all these when I write them. And so our power is now back to hold 55 knots, and we're going to get there. Okay, so now you can see here that the this is 069. If that gets to 047, we'll be lined up with the localizer. I'm not going to wait that long. Okay, we're 21 miles from the airport according to the localizer DME. We're 27, almost 28 miles from Spartanburg. And if you look here, if I'll change this to back to C localizer 1, we don't have a localizer yet, but we have the DME here. Yeah, we lost that too. Okay, but that's okay, because when we get to 28 miles here, which we're at now, I'm going to move my heading bug. Okay, and we're going to turn to a heading of 120. Okay, now what that's going to do is that'll get us over to the localizer much quicker. Since we too far out to get the localizer, your localizers only go out about 20 miles. Sometimes the DME goes out further than that. Sometimes it doesn't. But when we get to a heading of 120 here, I'm going to watch for the localizer. At the same time, I'm going to watch for this the bearing on the GPS. If it gets down to 047, which is the localizer course, and we don't see the localizer, I'm going to turn to 047. So we'll watch it. Now, you can sort of use this 058, now it'll get to 057 soon. You can use that as you would a VOR. And so now we're 057. That would be 10 degrees out from the localizer. There's the localizer. Good, we got it. Okay, so now I don't have to worry about this. Now I'm going to watch the localizer to come across. But I am going to continue to use this because at about 5 degrees off of the GPS, 47 and 5 is 53. So we're at 53 already. I'm going to go ahead and make a turn to about 080. Now what that does is it intercepts the localizer at a better speed, or a better angle, not a better speed, better angle. Okay. Now that we got the localizer dialed in, I really don't need the, here comes the localizer. All right. So if the localizer is coming across, I'm going to go to about 060. And right about there, I can turn on the nav to hold the localizer. So now you can see the localizer is locked in at the top there in green, LOC, and it's going to make some final adjustments there to intercept the localizer and hold it. Now we're still, according to this down here, we're 18 miles, which should be about the same as that. It's not quite, but I'll believe the localizer's DME, because that's what counts. I don't care about the Spartanburg stuff anymore. So we're going to follow this in, and the outer marker is, I'm sorry, not the outer marker. The initial approach fix is right where we are at 17 miles. So we are at the initial approach fix for the localizer. That being the case, I'm going to also turn on the glide slope. So you see the altimeter is locked, altitude is locked at 4,000. I'm going to turn on the approach, and that gives me a glide slope indication saying when the glide slope starts dropping, the glide slope will control the altitude and not the altitude hold. Okay. The heading bug is doing nothing, but I'll just put it in the center of 047 here. Okay. And now we're good to go. We're going to sit back and relax, and at about, I don't know, I think it's about 7 or 8 miles. I guess we can check here. Hold on. Okay. So initial approach fix was 17 miles out. The final approach fix is right here, and that's about 4 miles out. And so we just got a bit of a ways to go. So we'll be watching for the glide slope to drop. And as it does, I'm going to start my slowdown. 70 knots is a little high. I'm going to get the airspeed back down to 150. Here comes the glide slope. So why do I want the airspeed back? Because I want the airspeed below 150 to put the gear down. So glide slope is dropping at 150. I drop the gear. Gear coming down. Okay, there goes the gear. Put a bit of power in to compensate. Going to put in 1 click of flaps too. So I'm going to have to add a bit more power to hold about 130, 135 in that range. And there we go. So here comes the glide slope. And you'll see that the GS will take over. There goes. GS just took over. Going to drop to about 400 or 500 feet per minute. I'm going to pull the power back so the airspeed doesn't build up. I'm going to try to hold about 130 here. Now we'll hear an outer marker. That outer marker is about 4 miles away. And at the outer marker, I'll put my final click of flaps in. And let's see. 30 knots is good. Touch of power in to hold 130. Glide slope is doing well. And I call my autopilot George. So George is doing a fantastic job here. And let's see, we're 8 miles out. We ought to be able to see the runway. You want to see the runway? Okay, here we go. Ho! There's the runway. Okay, did you see that? Let me get it. All right, yep, looking right on track here. So 7 miles, doing fine. Waiting for the final approach fix at about 4 miles, and we'll put the last click of flaps in, and from there, you always want to put the flaps in before you turn off the localizer. and turn off the autopilot because it restabilizes the airplane quickly for you. Okay, 6 miles, going to about 4 miles, and then we'll put down a last click of flaps. One more peak. There he is. All right, coming in nicely. So anytime I want to peak, I could just do that and come back. Yep, everything's fine. Can't do that in the weather, but that's okay. We're just practicing here. All right, 4.9, 4.8 nautical miles. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's okay. Anywhere in here I could put down the second click of flaps. I'm holding 135. There's the outer marker. You see the O flashing up there for outer marker. Second click of flaps. And you can see those flaps moving right over here. We're there. Okay, power in to hold about 110 to 115. George will respond by getting the glide slope back up. A little above glide slope. Come on, George, get it on down. All right, and we're 3 miles out. There's 110. I'm going to not go below 110 here. Okay, I save 110 until I'm flying without the glide slope and autopilot. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look again. Oh, looking fine. We're almost at 500. I'm going to hold it right here and let it fly in. But I'm slightly off to the left, as you can see, but the glide slope looking better. George is doing a good job of that. So what I'm going to do is get ready to turn off the autopilot. And I usually do that at about 500, maybe a little early. I'm going to do it a little early because I want to make some final adjustments. There's the 500. Autopilot is off. Okay. Yep, everything's configured. Always good to check your airplane before you land. Okay, so coming in. Little adjustment. Pull the power back a little. Let the airspeed bleed down to about 100. Try to cross between around 95 knots, the threshold. Here I'm going to let it drift a little closer to 90. And here we go. A little aerodynamic braking. Nose down. For real braking. Brakes are back off. This taxiway here is a big wide taxiway. And yes, I have done this before. And so I'll just turn off the taxiway. There's the FBO, or fixed base operations. And I will just take the first parking spot right here. Okay. And that's a good parking spot. All right, that was fun. Let's do that again sometime. I think I will. I hope you enjoyed this video. And please stay tuned. There's a lot more videos about the Cirrus jet coming up.